Blue Stars Higher Secondary School welcomes the 11th standard students for attending the English class. Happy morning to you all. I am Mrs. Kalichelvi, English lecturer. Now, today we are going to learn about the first prose of first unit, the portrait of a lady. The portrait of a lady is a short story written by Khushwant Singh. The lesson is aptly titled The Portrait of a Lady because the author Khushwant Singh intended it to be a character sketch of his grandmother. The word portrait is a word play on character sketch, and the grandmother of the author has numerous lady-like qualities, hence the title. Now we are going to enter into the story. Before entering into the story, we are going to learn about the story. The Portrait of a Lady is a biographical sketch describing the bond between a grandson and his grandmother, filling the mind with reminiscence of the past. Children identify the personal relationship with their own grandparents and learn human qualities of kindness, respecting the world and showing concern to their relations. Who is Khushwant Singh? Now we are going to learn about Khushwant Singh. He was called by his grandmother as Kushal Singh. She is always calling him Kushal Kanna, like that. He was born on 2nd February 1950 and he died on 20th March 2014. He died at the age of 99. He was very much interested in writing novels. That's why he became an Indian novelist. He was a lawyer, he was a journalist and a politician. He was born and raised in Hadali, Punjab. He studied at St. Stephen's College, Delhi and King's College, London. He joined the Indian Foreign Service in 1947. By the next slide, we are going to learn about Khushwant Singh's life and his brilliant works and the honors and awards awarded by him. As a writer, Khushwant Singh is best known for his keen secularism, sarcasm and love for poetry. He served as the editor of several literary and news magazines as well as 2 newspapers. Honors and awards awarded by Khushwant Singh. He was awarded with Padma Bhushan in 1974, which was the highest award in our nation. Then Padma Vibhushan by the Government of India. Then Sahitya Academy Fellowship by Sahitya Academy of India. And then Fellow of King's College, London in 2014. And then some of his brilliant works are as follows. First one, The Mark of Vishnu, A History of Sikhs, We Indians, A Love Affair in London, India an Introduction, The Train to Pakistan, Success Mantra and Death at My Doorstep. Before entering into the story, we are going to learn about the characters who are there in the story. Khushwant Singh. He is the author of the story. He itself narrating this story here. And then his grandmother, his mother, some stray village dogs, and then lots of sparrows. Introduction of the story. In this story, the author draws a pen portrait of his grandmother. What means pen portrait? He draws a clear-cut character sketch for his grandmother. He beautifully unfolds his relationship with her while describing her appearance and daily activities. He beautifully unfolds his relationship, his friendship with his grandmother while describing her appearance. How she looks like? She is a fat, short, and little stooped woman, and a wrinkled face. She is always looking with a pure white dress. And then her daily activities. She is always reciting some prayers. She is always rolling her beads in a rosary. Everything. Appearance of the grandmother. What's the appearance? How she looks like? The story determines the fact that a person who is truly religious stays composed and calm, generous and kind-hearted. Grandmother was a truly religious person and had compassion for all. Here the author recalls his grandmother as a very old lady with a wrinkled face. She appeared so old that it was hard for him to believe that she had once been young and pretty. She was a short, fat, and a little stooped in appearance. Her face was a crisscross of wrinkles running from everywhere to everywhere. She was so terribly old that she couldn't have grown older. She hobbled about the house in spotless white with one hand resting on her waist to balance her stoop and the other telling the beads of her rosary. Her silver locks were scattered untidily over her pale, puckered face, and her lips constantly moved in inaudible prayers. She was like the winter landscape in the mountains, an expanse of pure white serenity, breathing peace and contentment. The author remembers her moving about the house in spotless white. Yes, she is always wearing the pure white dress, counting her beads of her rosary while her lips moved constantly in silent prayers. She is always saying some prayers within her lips. She was not pretty in the traditional sense, yet her serenity made her beautiful. Serenity. What is serenity? Serenity means she is always being quiet and calm. Her calmness made her beautiful. We have learnt about grandmother, but the author doesn't know about his grandfather because he was died already. So, my grandfather's, the author said, my grandfather's portrait hung above the mantelpiece in the drawing room. His grandfather's portrait. He was his grandfather. The grandfather wore a big turban and loose-fitting clothes. His long white beard covered his best part of his chest. And he looked at least 100 years old. He did not look the sort of person who would have a wife or children, but had lots and lots of grandchildren. His early life in the village. In the initial years of his life, the author lived with his grandmother. Why? Why did the author live with his grandmother? Because the parents of the author went to the town for earning money for their life. So they left the author with his grandmother in the village. So in the initial years of his life, the author lived with his grandmother in the village, sharing a good friendship. His grandmother used to wake him up in the morning. How did she wake him up? Kushal Kanna, get up, Kushal, like that. And get him ready for the school. How she is getting him ready? By waking him up and making him to bath and making him to dress and making everything ready to his school. Then she would hand over to him the things he required in the school. What are the things he required for the school? What are the things? Slate, pen, pencil, everything. So she would fetch his wooden slate, which she had already washed and plastered with yellow chalk, and then a tiny earthen ink pot and a red pen. She is tying them all in a bundle and handed it to him. So he is ready for what? For going to school. After having thick fresh chapatis with butter and sugar for breakfast, they used to leave for school. Yes, grandmother, she is giving him stale chapati with a little butter and sugar spread on it. After finishing the breakfast, they started to move to school. And then she carried several stale chapatis with her for the village dogs, village street dogs. Understand? The author's grandmother always accompanied him to school as it was attached to the temple. She is always accompanied him. That means she is always walking along with him to the school. She is always giving her full support to her grandson. In this village school, he had studied the languages, Puranas, prayers, and then some other holy scriptures, everything. Do you like your grandmother, children? Yes, I like my grandmother because she loved me a lot, and then she told me lots of stories. Bhakta Prahalada, Kushelan, Krishna Paramatma, Nala Damayanti, everything. Each and every night I used to hear stories from her. At the same time, she taught me to prepare rasam. So, my grandmother, I miss my grandmother really. Next, it was her habit to carry several stale chapatis for the village dogs, isn't it? Which they used to feed while returning from the school. The dogs followed them to their home, growling and fighting with each other for the chapati they threw to them. When the parents were comfortably settled in the city, the grandmother and the author went to the city. for living with the parents. After sending him to the school, the grandmother used to sit inside the temple reading holy books while the narrator learnt alphabets and prayers in the school. In village school, what's the difference between the village school and the city school? You just see here, in the village school, it is attached near the temple. So in the village school, the priest taught the native languages, prayers, Puranas, everything. But in the city school, the teacher taught English, Western science and learning, Archimedes' principle, the law of gravity, and then the world being round, etc. But no religious teaching in city school. That's the difference between the village school and city school. Next, what happened? When the parents were comfortably settled in the city, they called the author and his grandmother to the city. So this is the turning point of their friendship came when they moved to the city to stay with the author's parents. Though they shared the same room, his grandmother no longer accompanied him to the school, since the author started going in a bus. That's why she is not getting the opportunity of taking her grandson to the school. As years rolled by, they saw less of each other. There were no dogs in the streets, and she took to feed the sparrows in the courtyard of their city house. Meanwhile, as there were no dogs in the streets, she took to feed the sparrows. Unlike the village school, the author was not taught about God and the scriptures, which troubled his grandmother. Unlike the village school, in the city school, the author was taught English, Western science and learning, the law of gravity, Archimedes' principle, the world being round, etc. This made her unhappy. What happened? She did not believe in what was being taught at his school and was unhappy as she could not help him with his lessons. Moreover, she was disturbed at the idea of music lessons being given at school, as she considered music to be unsuitable for gentle folk. Her disapproval was conspicuous in her silence. She said nothing, but her silence meant disapproval, that's it. Then, grandmother. When the author started going to the university for his higher studies, he was given a room of his own. It resulted in a further gap between them, between the grandmother and the author. She accepted her loneliness and rarely spoke to anyone. All day long, from sunrise to sunset, she sat by her wheel spinning and reciting prayers. She relaxed for a short time, only in the afternoon, to feed the sparrows. While she sat in the veranda breaking the bread into breadcrumbs, hundreds of little birds collected round her, creating a veritable bedlam of chirruping. So, she started only in the afternoon. she started to feed the sparrows who came in large numbers. The bond and level of comfort they shared with her is evident in the fact that they perched even on her legs and head. She used to be at her happiest self while feeding the sparrows. Some came and perched on her legs, others on her shoulders, some even sat on her head. But she smiled but never shooed them away. It used to be the happiest half hour of the day for her. Then the author decided to go abroad for further studies. He was sure that his grandmother would be upset at his departure. She came to the railway station to see him off but did not show any emotion. She came to the railway station but without showing any emotion. She was absorbed in her prayers, telling the beads of her rosary. She silently kissed the author's forehead, which the author considered to be the last sign of their physical contact. So after 5 years, he would come. Her lips moved in prayer, her mind was lost in prayer. Her fingers were busy telling the beads of her rosary. Silently she kissed his forehead and he cherished the moist imprint as perhaps the last sign of physical contact between them. After 5 years, he came back home and he met by her at the station. She did not look a day older. She still had no time for words, and while she clasped him in her arms, she is always reciting her prayers. Even on the first day of his arrival, her happiest moments were with her sparrows, whom she fed longer and with frivolous rebukes. In the evening, for the first time ever, she did not pray. She collected several ladies of the neighborhood and sang songs related to the homecoming of the warriors. She thumped the dilapidated drum and sang songs for the homecoming of the warriors. She had to be persuaded to stop singing in order to avoid overstraining. The author and his mother, they tried to stop her singing because she is overstraining herself. But she is not accepting their words. However, the next day she was taken ill. The next morning, it was a mild fever, and the doctor told them that it would go simply. But his grandmother thought differently. She told them that her end was near. Though diagnosed with a mild fever by the doctor, grandmother knew that her end was near. She decided to spend the last chapter, that means a few hours of her life, reciting prayers and telling her beads. They protested, no, but she ignored their protest. She lay peacefully in bed praying and telling her beads. Even before they could suspect, her lips stopped moving and the rosary fell from her lifeless fingers. A peaceful pallor spread on her face, and they knew that she was dead. We don't know what to do. She was dead. We can't. They lifted her off the bed and, as is customary, laid her on the ground and covered her with a red shroud. After a few hours of mourning, they left her alone to make arrangements for her funeral. In the evening, they went to her room with a crude stretcher to take her to be cremated. The sun was setting and had lighted her room and veranda with a blaze of golden light. We stopped halfway in the courtyard. Thousands of sparrows sat scattered on the floor. There was no chirruping. The author and his mother and their relations, everybody felt sorry for the birds, and the author's mother fetched some breadcrumbs for them. The sparrows took no notice of the bread. When they carried their grandmother's corpse off, they flew away quietly. Next morning, the sweeper swept the breadcrumbs into the dustbin. So what happened? The sun was setting. The room and the veranda filled with a blaze of golden light. So the sparrows gave the great honor to the grandmother who fed the breadcrumbs for them. They took no notice of the breadcrumbs. What were the works done by grandmother? She accompanied her grandson to the school. She fed the stale chapatis to the village street dogs. She is always reciting prayers. She is always sitting and reading the holy scriptures in the temple. She is always engaging herself in spinning the wheel. She is always thumped the drums, dilapidated drums, and sang songs for the homecoming of the warriors. In the city, she started to feed the sparrows. These are the works done by the grandmother. Now, this is your assignment. You are going to write the assignment. Write the experiences, what you experienced with your grandmother. This is your assignment. You have to write it in the A4 sheet and submit in the school within 3 days. Thank you, students. The remaining part of this lesson, that means the synonyms, question answers, everything we are going to see in the next chapter. Thank you.